I'm Scott Hall. I'm a musician. I'm also creative, so I'm artist as well. Mostly use photography, but I draw and do graphic design as well. And I'm also a psychic on top of that. I like helping people using their spirit guides and talking to them. Yeah, well, I could give you my story, which is basically I was an extremely sensitive child, being a creative, and I was just super sensitive to everything. And I was brought up in a household with a depressed alcoholic father and a kind of controlling mother who tried to make that work. Of course, that didn't work too well for me, and I found myself in I think I was in my early 30s when I finally went to someone and got diagnosed with clinical depression. And I remember crying with that diagnosis because there was a part of me that was saying, yes, like this is, thank God someone's noticing. I don't know, but the crying to me was validation that there's something real here. And unfortunately, I'm a person who reacts to the antidepressants in a way that is different than most. I react like a person who's bipolar. So when I was given Prozac normally will kind of mellow someone out. With me, it made me manic. So I was extremely manic. In fact, I was at like a Waffle House. Can I cuss here or not? Yeah. Anyway, I told the lady at the Waffle House to fuck off because she didn't bring me my waffle. I mean, it's not my personality whatsoever. So I went to my ex-wife at the time, said, we need to go into counseling and let's talk about this. And they were like, oh, you are manics. Go back to your psychiatrist. So I did. And they found out that I'm just sensitive to these drugs, so they put me on an anti-seizure medicine, which is used for bipolar, also called Lamictal. That stuff is some powerful stuff. I loved it. It was wonderful. I didn't understand the side effects over the years. I don't regret going on the drug because it was just what was necessary at the time. I didn't have the capacity to do the emotional work that I ended up doing. So I lived that way, which gave me, I would always say, what's the line? Like, the line of normalcy. We don't really know, right? But we have our perceived line. So this drug put me a little above my perceived line of normalcy. So I liked that because it was a little bit of an upper, right? I'm like, okay, that's good because I tend to go from being super excited to be kind of depressed, not getting stuff done. So then I liked it and I lived that way. Unfortunately, there were side effects. One is I was kind of jumpy. I would jump at people and stuff, and I didn't realize all that was going on. But I did have a lot of not nausea. What am I trying to say? Losing of my balance. What do you call losing your balance? Why am I having trouble with that word?
Equilibrium.
Dizziness.
Dizziness. There you go.
I don't know why I couldn't think of the word. Yes, I had dizziness and problems with my eyes, and I looked into it, and that was part of one of the side effects from the drug. In the meantime, 13 years had gone by on this drug, and saying that this is who I am, this is the way I'm going to live the rest of my life, I thought. But along came my current partner. We call ourselves life partners, Janet, who's done a lot of work with, not with drugs per se, but in working on yourself emotionally. And so she suggested I start doing that work, and I did do that work. And then I got to the point where I'm like, okay, the side effects, look at that from the drug. I've done the emotional work of going back and finding out where did Scott get all this depression and everything from. Doing the emotional work of discovering what happened to me as a child, why I go to this place of depression, going through that work and really like going back to when I was a kid and how I was treated by my mother and how I was treated by my father, and doing that emotional work cleared so much. I have to say that I got off the medicine eventually. I was like, what I wanted to find out was, I remember where I was, is I wanted to find out, who am I without the medicine? Can I handle life without being on medicine? And so I went to that task. Unfortunately, the drugs are very strong. Lamictal, it took me a year and a half to go off of it, to wean off of it. During that time, I was doing the emotional work. And I'm happy to say it's been a year now, I think, since I've been off of it. And I have not had an episode of depression, which is amazing for me. So the going back to the core problem, rather than what I feel like the medicine did for me, and it's not for everyone, but for me, it put a Band-Aid on it, a pretty damn good Band-Aid too, on it, and allowed me to handle it. And at the time, I needed that because I did not have the capacity to do what I can do now, or what I was able to do now, because of my maturity, most of it, right? I was just too immature. I was getting thrown everywhere. So now, for me, I watch what's going on with myself and take note. Call it taking temperature. I take my temperature of my energy. Where is my energy right now? And I'll just tell you, I just haven't been down, and I've been doing all the right things too. But it means hard work. I meditate every day, sometimes 35 to 45 minutes a day. So I'm like religious about it. So it's the spiritual component, the physical component as well. I have to do both of those and take care of my body. My body's like, it's my temple, my cylinder that I fill up with. I need to fill it up with good stuff. So that's basically what I'm doing. When I found out how I was feeling and why I was feeling that way, where it came from in my past, why I was feeling that way, that was part one, to deal with the parents in my head kind of thing, the words in my head, the yelling going on in my head, whatever's going on in my head, to deal with that was one thing. But then there's even if you figure that out, there's still a habit of kicking myself in the ass. I had to stop that habit. In order to do that, that's where the meditation came in, because you have to take time offline, not in this world. I have to at least take time offline, that's meditation, to think about how, okay, when this comes up, remind myself, be diligent. When this comes up, when I start back-talking myself, start talking meanly, catch myself, and I say change to that. I say change, I'm going to change. And then the second part of my meditation, I think, what's the new Scott look like with no depression, with no anxiety? Anxiety's really been a lot of my problem too. So I have anxiety, or depression was my thing. And when I got rid of depression, anxiety's still there too. I still work on that, but I catch myself doing it. So it's breaking a habit. Mm-hmm. There's so many layers to it. Every time I go a little, take off a layer, there's another layer there to work on.
Yeah.
Talk therapy since I was 20s, since when my father died, I was 27, and I think I went to therapy right around then. And a little bit before then, so probably 25, 26, I still see that same guy. So it's called the New Men Group, and the idea is that the new man, like who is the new man? What is the new man? Let's define the new man together. So it's a combination of class and discussion. The class part is I teach men what I know about being intuitive, about being psychic, about understanding how feelings come off of a person and you feel them within yourself. Especially as creative people, we feel that. But everyone's empathic. I like to say, give the example, you're sitting at home when you're a kid, you're watching TV, you hear the door open, you hear it close, your mom just came in, you know she's in a bad mood. You don't have to hear her do anything, you just know, because we have a connection with our mother from the beginning that is not physical. It's not physical in nature. So I teach men how to deal with their ability to feel feelings, how to work with their sensitivities, how to build boundaries. That's the most important. The first meeting is about boundaries, because you have to say, enough's enough. I know I've seemed like a nice guy and you want to tell me your whole story. I only have 10 minutes or whatever. To make boundaries of time, make boundaries of who you hang out with. And then how to incorporate that just into your daily life too. And I like to use a grocery store as an example about how, because it's a great example of that you bump into some people that are rude and how does that feel to you? You bump into some people that are wonderful, like you just met them and you can just feel good vibes coming off them. So that's I always use the grocery store as an example of how to find people like that and really understand how you feel things inside. So it's part class. I'll do the classroom part at the beginning. It's only an hour, but do about the classroom part in the beginning, and then have some discussion about what the class is about regarding in how to incorporate it in our lives. Like how would you incorporate this now? We've talked about boundaries. Is there a person in your life you want to talk about? And if someone doesn't want to talk, that's totally cool. You don't have to share, but that's part of it. So if you go to scotthallpsychic.com, there's the New Men group on there, and you can register there.
Cool.
Yeah. This is a song's called Angels Now, and it's written about someone I love very much who's coming home to a house where addiction is the problem, and that's it. There's a bolt lock on the bedroom door. You softly knock, she answers. Try not to choke on the cigarette smoke in the darkness. Wanna let light in, you don't know how. You close your eyes and call for angels now. She asks you, get her some water for medicine. You dump her ashtray. Wipe your tears, head back upstairs to the sickness. You wanna ease the pain, you don't know how. You close your eyes and call for angels now. La-da-da-da-da. I hate to tell you this, there's little you can do. The angels you have called are for you. Sickness, want to ease the pain, let us smile again, but there's darkness. Want to let light in, you don't know how. You close your eyes. You want to let light in, but you don't know how, so you close your eyes. You want to let light in, you don't know how. You close your eyes and call for angels now. Call for angels now. You call for angels now. You call for angels if you're feeling badly, please do go get help. That's really important. And remember that keeping it a secret is something that's just postponing the problem getting fixed. Keeping a secret, when you take that secret and you show it to people, you think it's big and bad. It ends up being not big and not so bad, and it ends up being manageable.
Thanks.
Sure.